Hi folks, welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. So the mail arrived this morning and something came in the mail that, well, it relates to today's video. So while this video isn't about what came in the mail, I did want to show it to you because I will be talking about it later on in another video. And it's a ham radio, a dual band mobile radio. This is a cheaper one, and I've been wanting to try one of these out. I've always, used more name brand type of ham radios. But this one is it's a kind of a Chinese knockoff of a Yaesu 8800. But the reviews have been really good on it. Even in the ham radio groups that I'm in, the guys that's tried these, they say they just love them, especially considering the price. The name brand Yaesu that this mimics runs about $400, and I picked this up for under $150. And for those of you that don't know, a mobile radio like this, if you can see, these are the kinds that you can mount in your car, but you can also make it a base. And I think since this is just a backup extra, I'm thinking about making it a mobile base station. So it'll be kind of like a base radio that's got mobile capabilities running on solar power and battery. But that'll be sometime in the future. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, and just so you know, like I said, once I get this out. I haven't even opened it up. I mean, I haven't even really looked at it. It's still all in the packaging, it's still all wrapped up. So I haven't even had a chance to look at it or play with it. But I will do that, and we'll talk about that in a later radio. Something like this, under good conditions and a good antenna, could have a range of, potentially 50 to 60 miles, all depending on multiple circumstances. But anyways, the reason why I bring that up is because we're still talking about shortages. Got a Tom Turkey over here that's wanting to get involved in today's video. You can probably hear him. So we've been talking about the storage container, the shipping container shortages, where they don't even have containers to ship goods around. Of course, we've talked about the Suez Canal stuck ship that was there for 6 days, and now they've moved it into a lake area so that they can inspect and examine it, and shipping is finally starting to flow, even though there's still quite a bit of a backup there. But there's a lot of stuff that's kind of all going on when it comes to, the things that you need, the things that you use, the things that you want to stock up on. And so I want to talk about that. And I want to talk about some specific things that you might start looking into to stocking up on. We talk about food often. So today isn't about food so much as about other things that would be very beneficial for you to stock up on, because the prices are increasing and the availability may just be gone before you know it. Before I get started, I want to mention that because of the censorship here on YouTube, I'm making another video that will be over on Rumble, and it will be talking about, the thing that you get in your arm and some details surrounding that more so that I haven't mentioned before. And I'm also putting up a video on my Patreon page that you can go to, and I put exclusive content, usually 4 to 5 videos a week. It's only $1 to get your foot in the door a month. And I also post things on, if I find properties around in my area that look like they would be good homesteading properties at a good price, I post those, or articles. It's much more of a personal kind of content there. And you can go over to Patreon and look me up. I'll have a link in the description below for both the Patreon and the Rumble, which Rumble's free. It's just where I can say what I want over there for the most part. All right, so on to what's going on. Well, you already know a lot, right? If you've been watching this channel and others like me for a while, you're aware of shortages and a lot of things that's affecting the supply chain in general. And when I say supply chain, I mean anything in the supply chain. We are living in what a lot of people are starting to call a perfect storm. And I think that's pretty accurate. Now, is this perfect storm just one big coincidence? Is this, just it just happened? We just got unlucky. It's just, the stars are aligned to, what is this? Or is this orchestrated? Again, not the topic for today's video, but sometimes when there's too many coincidences that look like they lead to a certain point in the future, then they may not be a coincidence. When you look at the objectives of globalists and the objectives of world leaders and things that they have flat out said in their own words, what they intend to do, what they wish to do, things start looking like they're not a coincidence anymore. But anyways, so with the coincidences, the orchestrated coincidences that are happening now with the supply chain, of course there's been this health crisis for the past 12 months, and we all know what happened. We all know the amount of shutdowns, the amount of factories that closed, the shipping that was shut down, people were laid off, businesses went under, and everything from the getting the raw materials to producing that, refining that, making component parts, putting it together in factories, to shipping, to trucking, everything from one end to the other have been affected because of this health crisis. And while it's starting to kind of come out of that in some areas, unemployment still keeps going up. I saw today, I believe it was another 60, 70,000 additional new unemployment requests. So it just keeps going up, even though in some areas they're starting to try to get back on their feet. And we'll talk more about that in the Rumble video about what's going on with that. And then you have, kind of at the same time, you've got this huge snowstorm. Remember a few weeks ago? It's nice and, well, it's kind of chilly today, but at least the sun's out and the grasses start turning green. But we had this huge cold snap and snowstorm all across the U.S. And one of the worst places that was affected by it, maybe they didn't get the worst, but they were definitely affected more, was down in Texas, especially in South Texas, specifically the Houston area, that coastal area. They don't have the infrastructure to deal with that kind of cold. We already know that. We've talked about that. You know that. But what happened was, and I've talked about this before, they had to shut down a lot of the refineries, a lot of the factories that create plastics, refineries that refine the crude oil into certain products. That's the big area down there on the south of Houston, Texas, there on the coast. In fact, that's the big bulk of a lot of our refineries in the United States. It's a real brilliant idea to put so much important infrastructure all in one spot, isn't it? Well, they had to shut a lot of them down because of the cold temperatures. And you can't just do an emergency shutdown on a huge refinery and then, when it thaws out, flip the switch and turn it back on. It takes weeks. They have to do cleaning of pipes and inspections and testing. And some of those, they're still not up to speed. And because of that, there's shortages in that area. And it's created a big shortage in raw plastic resins. And the prices of plastics have already started going up. In fact, some of them have almost doubled in prices, and they're continue to increase. And there's a lot of talk on the news about this plastic shortage. The whole Texas storm wasn't the only cause of that, but that definitely amplified it. So we have this shortage of plastic, and as you all know, plastic's in everything. I mean, it's everywhere. Hardly anything anymore doesn't have some kind of plastic in it or needs it for something. And then we have some other things that's happened. Of course, we've got the shipping container shortages, and we've talked about that a few times on this channel, and that's still going on. They don't have enough shipping containers to be used, and no one really knows. And there's speculation that also is being orchestrated by certain companies and nations. But it doesn't matter right now. The point is that it's happening. There's not enough shipping containers to go around. They're having to really work on the logistics and coordinating, so that they can spread them around and use them, and it's causing a lot of problem. Someone commented yesterday that they're in the trucking industry, and they haul parts, car parts, automotive parts. and they normally would work a 10-hour day, 5 to 6 days a week. And here lately, they've only been working between 4 and 6 hours a day because there's just not enough loads for them to haul because of all these shortages. They're not getting the stuff in, and things aren't getting to move because of container shortages and raw material shortages. And then, of course, we have this Suez Canal thing, which, while it may not have caused the whole system to collapse, it definitely put a big pause in a gigantic system of supplies. And so when you do that all together, and then you add in, the lack of workers and companies being reopened and the increasing taxes on the way, that's definitely going to hurt. The new tax increases that are being talked about, where they're mileage tax and the Biden corporate taxes, and this new his version of the Green New Deal, to focus on green production and green industries. It's going to actually cause certain industries we have close, and it doesn't mean that this new green stuff is just going to immediately pick back up. It takes time to start new types of industries. So the immediate and the long-term outlook right now does not look really good. Look at, we've got like a microchip and circuit processor shortages right now. They're having a hard time in the cell phone industry and the automotive industry and other tech industries to even get enough microchips and circuit boards, and semiconductors and stuff, just to manufacture things, which that's one of the reasons why I bought that radio, because right now I got it on sale. And it was, very cheap. And from what I've been told, for the price, it does really, really well. But 3 or 4 or 6 months from now, that may increase. Who knows? Because of the fact that it's probably going to be, become difficult to start manufacturing them because of the shortages. We're seeing this in a lot of areas, not just with food. And the shortages can be because there's no raw materials. There may not be people to manufacture them. There may not be ways to move them around. And so the shortages causes prices to increase, and it makes it difficult to get things. So here's some advice, and let's get to the advice part. Things like this radio. For those of you, preparedness, homesteaders, whatever it is, having a good communication is really important. And I'm not saying you have to get that particular one. I've not even tried it. It may not be any good. Now, again, the reviews that I've read have actually talked very highly of it, considering its price. Most of these ham groups, they say, well, of course the Yaesu is way better, but it's also 3 times the price. So for what you're paying for, you're getting a pretty good radio, and it's a good beginner setup. Something like that. Other important electronics that you think you might need, you really could use in your preparedness and in homesteading lifestyle. You might start looking at stocking up on those now, because they may become hard to come by, or the price may just increase outside of your budget. And then in the world of plastics, well, that's a lot of things. Take, for instance, plastic sheeting for a greenhouse. I'm not needing it right now, but I'm getting ready to make an order for some plastic greenhouse sheeting, because it's still relatively cheap, but most likely that price is going to start increasing. So I'm going to purchase some and set it aside and have it for when I need it and can use it. These are things that you can start prepping on. I think of other plastics that you might need, other things that you could use around your homestead or in your preparedness needs. I mean, think about it. We all know that ammunition and firearms right now are hard to come by and expensive. It's the same thing. If a year ago you had just said, you know what, I think I'm going to stock up a little bit more on ammo, because with all the stuff going on, that could start, becoming really expensive, and you went and bought a little bit, wouldn't you be thinking right now, wow, did a good job? And some of you did, including myself. And I look at what I bought. What I bought a year ago, I was complaining at what I was paying for it then, and I could make my money back 2 times over at least by now, because it's continually gone up in price and scarcity. So it's the same thing with this kind of stuff. When we start seeing this kind of stuff on the horizon and it's coming at us, If you are able to take a moment and a little bit out of your budget and to stock up on these things, it's a really smart thing to do. Think about your farm. If you've got animals, there might be certain plastic things that you need, waterers, buckets, and stuff like that, that are usually pretty cheap. It wouldn't hurt to have a few extras lying around and stock up on. Um, Things for your greenhouse or your chicken coop. Sunshade, for a greenhouse. We use that on top of our chicken coop in the run to give them a little shade. That kind of stuff could easily start going up in price or become hard to come by. So start thinking about that. When you start seeing these shortages or them predicting the shortages, it doesn't always guarantee that you won't be able to get a hold of things. And it doesn't guarantee that the price will increase. But it probably doesn't hurt on things that you can easily afford to kind of stock up on. Again, a year ago wasn't that long ago when things started becoming overnight hard to come by for a while. Some of them have come back and you can get them easily, but there are still things that have been difficult to come by just because of the whole shutdown, basically, and the drastic slowing of the supply chain. Even a year later, a lot of those goods just are still difficult to come by, and the prices of pretty much everything has gone up all across the board. So my advice, along with stocking up on food, water, first aid things, security issues around the farm, things like a radio, things like plastic sheeting on your garden, water buckets and feeders and things that you might need around automotive things. I try to keep an extra set of spark plugs and extra, transmission fluid and oil and things like that. At least like one setting around in case things get really bad. And I need to do an oil change and I can't get a hold of the oil. So I try to always keep like enough for at least one oil change in stock, and a belt or something like that. It's very kind of smart to do that, and I understand it's just more money. And every time I watch one of your videos, it sounds like I'm going to have to spend more money. I get it. It's all about prioritizing and doing the best you can. Some of you can do more than others, but all of you can probably do a little bit when it comes to becoming more prepared. And really, in the end, that's the most important thing. Do the most that you can to become more prepared. With all these shortages on their way, and some of it's already happening, I think might sleep a little bit better at night knowing that those few little items that you probably could use or will need in the future, you've kind of stocked up on. All right, folks, don't forget about the Rumble and the Patreon channel if you're interested in either of those. One's free and one's $1 a month. And I will catch you in the next video. Thank you.